at this time on Al Jazeera.
A debilitating condition afflicting millions of women across the developing world.
Sometimes it is not possible to cure a patient with fistula. We have to prepare her psychologically.
Revealing the human stories behind fistula and its intimate connection to poverty. A powerful new series exploring global maternal health. Birthrights, at this time on Al Jazeera.
If you're a Nokia user, you can download Al Jazeera's news widget from Nokia's Ovis store. The news widget, available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from Al Jazeera English. See the world in real time. Al Jazeera Mobile.
Welcome back. A quick reminder of the top stories on the news hour. In the battle for Libya, witnesses in the key oil port of Brega say at least 24 people were killed in clashes there on Friday. Anti-Gaddafi fighters are claiming to be in control of the oil terminal and the city east of the capital, Tripoli. A surgeon from the Libyan city of AlJazeera has told Al Jazeera that rebel fighters have repelled an attack by forces loyal to Muammar Gaddafi. But he says there have been up to 200 casualties after several hours of heavy fighting. It's just 50 kilometers west of the capital, Tripoli.
Now I am at the center of the AlJazeera, what is known the Martyrs Square, and what we're seeing now is a large number of the people living in the city are gathering in the center of the city after they managed to push back the Gaddafi armed forces, and they have been pushed outside the city. When they were pushed back, we managed to get out of the homes, and we courageously, the fighters managed to push them back and get to the center of the square, and I helped administer first aid to a number of casualties, and I asked a number of colleagues who are in the square. There is between 150 to 200 injured so far.
Videos of people said to have been wounded in the fighting at Ras Lanuf have been posted on the internet. We can't independently verify the videos, but here's some of what they say.
We engaged carrying light weapons and a helicopter started shelling us from above. Still, victory will be ours.
We were being bombed by M21 long-range missiles, but I want to assure you that none of our guys backed down. 130 of Monroe's mercenaries were killed. When we drew up near them and their long-range weapons were no longer effective, they fled.
I would like to send a message from this hospital to all the Arab nations. There is no room in the mortuary for the bodies and no place to keep the victims of this vicious and murderous regime.
Well, the situation in Libya's east is developing into a standoff between pro- and anti-government forces, but a food crisis is looming. From AlJazeera, Jackie Rowland reports.
This is something unheard of in AlJazeera, a bread queue. The bakery opened at 7 in the morning, and since then people have been standing in line. It's extremely unusual. Normally there would be absolutely no need to queue for bread. Well, as you can see, the problem isn't a shortage of flour. They've got sacks and sacks of the stuff. The wheat is imported. The flour mill is about 100 kilometers to the east of here, and they're not having any problems getting deliveries of flour. The problem is with the people who actually make the bread. Here in AlJazeera, most of the bakers are Egyptian. For example, the man who runs the bakery is an Egyptian. But the problem is that half of his staff ran away when the uprising began, so he was left with no one to produce the bread. So he's had to train local people in the art of bakery. It's pretty difficult because you've got people who have no experience at all. And the problem is that the people of AlJazeera are eating the bread more quickly than they can produce it. Bread is a real staple here, and it's very cheap as well. You get 20 of these loaves for 1 Libyan dinar. Now, at the moment, there is no shortage of things to eat. There's plenty of rice in the shop, cooking oil, basic foods like that. The problem is distribution, and there is a fear that if the fighting gets closer to AlJazeera, then the distribution lines may be cut, and at that point, there could be a real risk of people going hungry.
To China now, where Premier Wen Jiabao has pledged to reduce inflation and corruption and raise income levels. He told the annual National People's Congress in Beijing the measures are necessary to maintain social stability. Melissa Chan reports from Beijing.
It's a formal and serious affair, with officials from across the country, near and far, convening over the next 10 days. There's often a celebratory mood on the first day of Congress, with leaders looking back at the past year's economic accomplishments. But in the Great Hall of the People, China's premier used his opening speech as an opportunity for an honest assessment of what's going on in the country.
We are keenly aware that we still have a serious problem, and that our development is not yet balanced, coordinated, or sustainable.
The premier went on to discuss the threat of corruption, telling the people sitting before him that they, the officials, will be required to disclose their income, real estate, and investment details. He promised better social services to citizens.
We have not yet fundamentally solved a number of issues that the masses feel strongly about, namely the lack of high-quality educational and medical resources and their uneven distribution, increasing upward pressure on prices and exorbitant housing price increases.
Real estate is indeed a tremendous problem for most Chinese. And on Saturday came the enormous pledge from the podium to eventually provide low-income housing for 20% of the country's urban households.
Every year, Premier Wen Jiabao takes the opportunity on the opening day of the National People's Congress to remind the people the government cares. But this year, more than the past, there are greater assurances from the government to improve things such as healthcare and education. It's a more worried government. Melissa Chan, AlJazeera, Beijing.
Well, Teng Jimeng is Professor of American Studies at Beijing's Foreign Studies University. He joins us live now. Teng Jimeng, what was the key message that came out of Premier Wen's speech for you? I mean, and why the focus on the economy, do you think?
Well, I think, yes. I mean, absolutely, the most important message that came out from Premier Wen Jiabao's work report is that we need to, it's high time for China to address the issue of inflation and also the kind of complaints generated by the boom, and by particularly the fact that the majority of people actually left behind by the kind of economic boom right now. And so in a sense, I think two issues stand out. One is, as Premier Wen Jiabao has pointed out correctly, the pitfalls because of the economic boom. For example, the rising inequalities and also the excessive investment in the asset sector, and particularly in the building sector, and as well as the kind of economic development that benefits the cities and industries rather than the farmers and also the services. So in this sense, I think that Premier Wen Jiabao was very much correct in sending out that very message that the government is now putting great emphasis on addressing those issues that are plaguing the nation.
And of course, many of the experts are worried about Beijing keeping down inflation, as you say. I mean, will China need to rethink its economic modeling because of this?